Hey sellers, welcome to another unboxing. So this time we've got Hakkaa Pääle, which arrived in the mail. My friend Dave ordered this, and I'm going to be unboxing it on his behalf. Now I already have Hakkaa Pääle, the same print version. However, a lot of the counters I clipped before I had my handy dandy Oregon counter clipper. And so, as pointed out by a commentator, that kind of looked like they got it clipped by a JDAM. Joint direct attack ammunition, one of those high explosive rounds are dropping on the enemy. And I don't know if we're going to clip these. I'll probably leave that up to Dave if he wants to do it or not. But I figured since he bought this, let's do an unboxing and let's get into it. All right, so Hakkaa Pääle. This is the finished component of ASL, and it basically reorganizes and reconfigures the complete Finnish Order battle. Now, you'll get some fins in the Beyond Valor editions. However, it's just your basic complement. This one expands the squad's availability, and it's more applicable to the Finnish armies as a whole. So it's a nice, worthy addition, as well as including some counter reprints from other nationalities and some special vehicles that were particularly key during the Finnish and Russian War. All right, let's whip this open and see what's inside it. So, first thing is, you've got your obligatory Hakkaa Pääle summary sheet of everything that's included inside it. All right, so I just broke open the components and split them up so I can talk about them as we get to them. So first thing we're going to talk about is the various rule editions and errata that has come out. So obviously with every new module, they have to release Chapter H notes, which cover variations of the vehicles that you're going to see in the counter mix, which we'll get to shortly. So it's got an updated Russian order of battle. Has, of course, the Finnish ones, which now we require for the updated Finnish module to cover all the vehicles and such. Again, in the original Beyond Valor, which is where you see your fins, typically they're assigned the German vehicles and support weapons by and large. However, with this new Hakkaa Pääle module, of course, we're going to be getting customized weapons and vehicles that belong to the Finns. So this might be vehicles captured from the Russians or ones bought or lent by the Germans that have been reconfigured for use in Finland. Here's a case in point. We have the 76 millimeter Russian artillery piece that was captured early in the war and consequently reconfigured by the Finns once they got their hands on it. The initial war, although Russia ended up winning it through attrition, it was basically the Finns that were on the on the attack for most part, counterattacking against the Russians and etc., and bringing the fight to the Russians defending their territory. However, in the end, they did end up losing the first war. At the end of the chapter H, we have some errata notes as well as a very important Hakkaa Pääle credits. The designers Lars and Tumo that you can see them on Game Squad forums by and large, but those are the two guys that spearheaded this report. I'm really curious as to know when they submitted it for MMP's final approval, given how long things would take to get through the production cycle at MMP. I'm really curious as to how long this actually took to get it through. It says 2022 on the print. However, I could suspect at least probably 5 years of planning and design went into this before it was submitted to MMP, which of course would include things like proofing the scenarios and such. So here we have some Chapter A rule errata. Anything basically with a large black dot on it is something that's been new. So they've upgraded information on the Russians, including SMG squads, early war doctrine, to account for what came out in the finished module. Obviously, this incorporates the Croix de Guerre module for the French, because it also has their new information as well, and air trains as well. So they've 2020 printing, well, 2021 on this page. So in the 2020s, at least, they've at least accounted for things like air trains as well as the French forces, including the Ethiopians as well, which you normally get in the Italian modules. Added a couple more footnotes. Again, this one incorporates the Eritrean, which came out in the Hollow Legions Italian module. And here's some replacements for Chapter B, which is your terrain features. Primarily, I think it's the prepared fire zones that are the new ones, as well as light woods, which really existed up in the north. They tend to have a lot of pine forests and such there, which if you've never been, they tend to grow fairly spaced out. It's not quite dense and thick as you might see in your typical deciduous forest in mainland Europe. Chapter D notes. Here we have the new Aerosands, which is some version of a air-powered sled, I assume. And then again, we have information roughly on the snow and skis especially, which again, you're going to be using a lot of when you're up in the north fighting in Finland, especially during the winter times. So they have to update those rules accordingly, including things like dummy ski counters. I'm not sure exactly where they would play in, but they're definitely been added into the rules now, as well as the Accio. Again, those of you on YouTube there, you may have seen the video from Illuminating Rounds. They released a new video where he was talking about the Accio and skiing as well. So we also have a bunch of dividers that were included, including the Chapter B. This is the Chapter A one with some Chapter C information as well. Or sorry, Chapter D vehicles on the outside and guns, ordnance on the inside. Looks to be a nationality chart, which of course has to be included because now we have expanded fins. We have the finish up here. Again, we got a full complement of troops, 838s, 648s, 548s, and then we have second line 447s, a green squads, and conscript squads, all of which appear at different times. So you can have a real flavor for what the Finns were fighting with during the war. And the inside we have our nice, very handy off-board artillery OBA flowchart. Until you really get to know the OBA rules, highly recommended that you use this because it walks you through everything from contact and access all the way to FFE resolution and such. I assume these all have errata as entered into it. I'm not sure what the changes were. I'm not aware of the errata, but as of 2014, this Chapter D divider has been updated. Here we have a chapter E divider. Again, I'm not sure what the changes or errata may have been, but if you're really curious, I'm sure you could find out quite easily. And that's chapter dividers. Of course, any new module is going to have new scenarios. So these ones are designed, I assume, given the numbers, strictly for Hakkaa Pääle. So these should all be new ones, current as of, well, probably within the last 5 or 10 years. Most of these have probably been developed over. Again, developed by the module designers. Maybe a couple of other ones are thrown in. Arctic Crossroads, 4 half-boards, 9 turns. Takes place in December 39, so if you want some early war action between the Finns and the Russians, that's the kind of thing you're looking at. You know, it took place at night. You have night rules in effect. Well, I should say some of the night rules are in effect. Interesting. 162 Armored Car Savakirki. Again, early war, 5 December 1939 on the Mannerheim line. Very small troop mix, so I like to see that. And it's 6.5 turns, so interesting with the low number of troops. Finns have winter camouflage, and the Russians have early war doctrine, which again I'm very unfamiliar with because we haven't played much in the way of early war Russians. Stop Cold starts to use the new prepared fire zone counters. A couple of Russian tankettes, again early December 39, so no T-34s are rolling around yet. Here we have 164 Torment at Torma. 2 full boards, 2 half boards, 8 turns, and it looks to be quite the number of troops. Variable troop mix, everything from A38s, 548s, 447s, conscripts, some second line half squads, conscript half squads, and then of course reinforcements that show up or appear on board hip. Oof. Versus 28 Russian squads coming on with only 4 SSRs as well, so here we have another fairly large one. Again, 4 half boards. A lot of overlays in that one. I think RR11s are railways. Hmm. 20 Russian squads and a lot of tanks versus 20 Finnish squads with 5 tanks as well. Again, all early war armor by and large. Here we have skiing in Lapland, so obviously skis are going to be involved, as well as a sledge. Oh, Russians have skis as well. The ski detachment at any rate. This is very interesting. So you have 2 boards, but they're separated. They're treated as simultaneous separate play areas. Interesting. That would be a weird one to do. This one might require a couple playthroughs, to get it right. But very interesting setup. So two separate boards. The fins can set up on or west of any hex row, and it's only the board that the ski detachment enters that's actually being used. Hmm. Interesting. This one is really interesting. Skiing in Lapland, eh? What do you think, Dave? Is this something we should consider? Breakout from Praza uses up most of two half boards. Large numbers of troops. Again, the Russians are outnumbering the Finns, as is typical. In this case, they got 23 squads versus 12. They are elite 5-4 or first line 5-4-8, so that's something. But Boris Bastion. So here we're going to have two half boards. Um, or 37 and 39. I'm not sure how the wood distribution on that is. But it looks like the Finns are going pillbox hunting. Night fans. So here we have a lot of sledges on the Russian side. And the Finns are in defense. And I'm going to guess it does use night rules. Base NVR is 4 hexes. So I guess snow, that would make sense. All Russian personnel have skis and winter camouflage. This looks like a huge one, retaken the VKT line. The Vipuri Kuparsari Taipal, excuse my Finnish mispronunciation, but there you have it, aka the VKT line. Uh, 6 half boards. Wow. Again, really dense. This time the Finns actually outnumbered the Russians. Takes place in June 44 as well, so fairly late war action, including some captured KVs. Here we have a 2-page scenario. This one's a last attack. So this is the Russian set up in various locations, as well as the Finns on the other sheet. Again, entering on various locations. Uses up 4 half boards. It's got 3 overlays. Takes place in 27 June 44. This has got some replayability because at scenario setup, the Russian player only selects 7 of these 8 numbered groups to play with. So you can always mix it up, and it secretly selects, so the Finnish opponent really has no idea what he's facing. Now, the Finns, some of them set up on both boards. Some of the reinforcements are entering, so you might be able to get away with some concealment for your various groups. So I imagine the guns obviously will be quickly picked out, but necessarily the troops maybe not. Or in any case, it won't matter to the Finns because you have to face whatever the enemy puts down. Won't really matter. Father Sunshine, 5.5 turns. Looks to be low visibility applies. I'm not sure why these hexes are in gray. It doesn't mention anything about night rules or low visibility. Oh, right here. It does apply. So SSR1 +1 low visibility hindrance applies to all attacks for the duration of the scenario. Any hex 3 or more is going to be getting a +1 DRM against it. Okay, there we go. Low visibility. Father Sunshine. We have not played this one. Legacy Assault Guns. We did try this one, Dave and I. This is one of the first ones we played when we were getting back into things. Seemed to be all right. Um, these Russian engineers that come on with flamethrowers and DCs, definitely hard for the Finns to account for. But typically, the up armored Russian armor, the ISU 152 and the IS2, would really do a number. Although Dave did have trouble with the IS2, it kept breaking down, and the 2 times he played it, both times it broke down quite early. Here we have some Germans versus Finns, both scenarios 175 and 176. So this is obviously after Finland had surrendered the last time, and they were encouraged by the Russians to make sure the Germans vacated as quickly as possible. While the Finns were not that necessarily keen to fight the Germans, they definitely did their part to get them out of the country. Anabasis, another 2-page scenario. So on the right we have the orders of battle, on the left we have the ECs. Night rules are in effect for this one, 7.5 turns, and uses up most of 2 boards. Again, we have Finns versus Germans, with the Germans moving first. I believe board 2 is the hill board. Oh, these are SS as well. This should be interesting. Elite SS versus first line 548s on the Finnish side. And then we have the SSRs for 176, the only way out. This one right here. Again, we have Germans versus Finns. Finns move first this time. Germans setting up first and uses most of 2 boards. 10 turns, eh? All right, let's get into the counter sheets. So as you can see, it's a full complement of Finns. We got the elites 838s. We have 648 first lines. We got 548 also first lines. Second line 447s, and some green 538s as well. And then of course conscripts 437s on the right side. So all of these take place at different periods of the 3 wars that Finland fought, primarily versus Russia. Although again, near the end of 44-45, they were again encouraged to push the Germans out. You can see the nice detail on the squads. Again, the new artwork from MMP's production is really, really top notch. I do like it. Everything's much more larger and clear as opposed to the first edition ASL stuff by Avalon Hill. This is a view of the back, obviously, with the broken counters. These are obviously the dummy ski counters that you can see. And this one here, sheet 204, has your various crews as well as your Finnish leaders and support weapons with some miscellaneous counters as well. And of course, at the bottom, we have those prepared fire zones, as you saw. Here we have our complement of Finnish controlled vehicles. And as you can see, most of them tend to be of the Russian variety that have been taken over. Russians left a lot of vehicles in the process of their various battles, which the Finns ended up taking over. There's been a couple of new modifications. This one here looks to be the, where are we? This one here looks to be like a T-34 variant that has been reconfigured with a Finnish name. And a couple of armored cars and such, half tracks. And a lot of captured Russian ordnance as well. This one here, we're looking at some Russian and Finnish vehicles. Again, just the clarity of the artwork. If you compare this to very first edition, like early 1990s modules, just the counter artwork is just amazing. There's a Sturm Tiger. We got two of them, three of them actually, marked D, E, and F. So I assume there's three other Sturm Tigers available in some other module. Lastly, we got board 52. There's only one board that comes with Hakkaa Pääle, and this is the wood board, which is a nightmare to work with, like you can rightly imagine. I think I've only used this a couple times, including in that Legis assault guns scenario. But this board is definitely a mess. Ambush and concealment going on like crazy. Almost zero fields of fire. And there we have Hakkaa Pääle. Again, I already have this module clipped and put away in my boxes. However, I'm very not much a fan of the way that I clipped them. I used the old-fashioned X-Acto knife and tried to cut off the corners, and of course I got varying results. Some of them look absolutely horrid, and other ones are marginally passable. But generally speaking, I would love to replace these. So, Dave, you got a lot of clipping to do. And there we have it, guys. Again, Hakkaa Pääle. Finished module from MMP came out, and this is a 2014 printing, although you did see some of the various counter sheets were dated in the 20s, and again that was because the module came out in 2014, which is around the time that I first picked it up. But in the recent reprinting is when they've updated a lot of the sheets to reflect the latest changes. So this is almost Hakkaa Pääle 2.0, if you want to call it that. But yeah, if you want the Finns complement, the full ordeal, including all the different squad types, vehicle types, not to mention the special scenarios with it, I highly recommend you get Hakkaa Pääle. That's it for me. We'll see you guys next video.